I'll say it as a fan and nothing else. My blood is boiling because the Cleveland Browns are apparently entertaining trade calls regarding quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Despite whispers suggesting teams are checking on his availability, the reality remains that the front office is still evaluating whether he or Deshaun Watson will be the Week 1 starter. It is baffling that the organization would entertain moving a potential QB1 for a measly 6th-round pick while he is still in the middle of a legitimate summer battle for the job. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and drop your name and city in the comments before we get into it. Rumors are swirling regarding the future of second-year quarterback Shedeur Sanders, as whispers suggest the Cleveland Browns have entertained calls about his potential availability for a trade. Ever since joining our team, Sanders has been the focal point of high expectations and intense curiosity regarding his long-term potential as a starter. While he is currently locked in a critical competition with veteran Deshaun Watson to determine who will lead the offense, recent reports from Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer indicate that the team is still actively evaluating his capabilities as a potential quarterback one. According to Cabot, while general discussions with other teams naturally touch on player availability, the idea that Cleveland would part ways with him right now seems premature. This situation is further complicated by the fact that the Browns, along with the rest of the league, learned that prospect Brendan Sorsby will not be available in the upcoming supplemental draft. And this is the part that gets me because Dan Laba of the Cleveland Plain Dealer has speculated that the market for Sanders might only yield a 6th-round pick in return. For a young player who is still supposedly battling for the starting job, that valuation feels incredibly low and frankly insulting to his upside. The emotional toll on us fans is heavy, as we are left wondering why such rumors are gaining traction if the organization truly believes in his development. If the team is supposedly undecided on their starter, why are they even entertaining the idea of moving on for such a measly draft asset? We are left to question what is truly happening behind the scenes as we look toward the preseason opener against the Chicago Bears on August 15th. If the coaching staff has not made up their minds yet, how can they effectively prepare both men for the upcoming season? The most surprising reality is that the Browns are already entertaining trade inquiries regarding Shedeur Sanders before he has even secured a firm grip on the starting job. This situation materialized because NFL teams often engage in informal conversations about player availability during routine roster discussions, leading to these sudden, swirling rumors. Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer notes that while teams might casually ask what is happening with Sanders, the organization still intends to let him battle it out with Deshaun Watson throughout the summer. The Browns are clearly determined to evaluate their options before the preseason opener against the Chicago Bears on August 15th. Here is where it gets interesting. Analysts like Dan Laba of the Cleveland Plain Dealer speculate that the team would only recoup a 6th-round pick for Sanders in a trade. From a front office perspective, moving a young talent for such a minimal return would be highly illogical while they are still actively determining who can best lead this offense under the guidance of head coach Todd Monken. Historically, rushing to dump a developmental prospect for late-round capital rarely yields positive results for a franchise needing stability at the most vital position on the field. The organization is likely choosing to maintain silence on any definitive plans to ensure both quarterbacks remain focused during these critical summer training sessions. We must remember that any talk of a supplemental draft involving prospects like Brendan Sorsby has been effectively extinguished for this cycle, further narrowing the pool of available talent. As we watch this competition unfold, the pressure remains on the coaching staff to identify a clear leader. We are waiting to see if the front office truly views Sanders as the future, or if they are simply keeping their options open while navigating the long, unpredictable road toward the regular season. The swirling speculation surrounding Shedeur Sanders has reached a boiling point, forcing us to confront the reality that our quarterback room might look entirely different sooner than expected. This matter is urgent because the organization is currently trying to determine if Sanders can actually be our primary signal caller. And these trade whispers threaten to derail that vital evaluation period under head coach Todd Monken. According to Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, it makes little sense for the team to pivot now while he is still fighting for the job. Yet the chatter persists. The bottom line here is that if we consider moving him for a mere 6th-round pick, as suggested by Dan Labbe, we are essentially throwing away a potential future starter for pennies on the dollar. This looming uncertainty dictates that the preseason opener against the Chicago Bears on August 15th becomes much more than a routine exhibition game. Every snap Sanders takes against the Bears will be scrutinized by the front office, as the team balances his development against the veteran presence of Deshaun Watson. If the coaching staff remains split throughout the summer, we risk entering the regular season with a fractured identity at the most important position on the field. Such instability naturally impacts our standing against division rivals, as we cannot afford to enter high-stakes matchups against our toughest opponents while still experimenting with our roster depth. Should the team choose to move on from Sanders, our playoff aspirations would lean entirely on the health and performance of one man, narrowing our margin for error significantly. We need clarity rather than conflicting reports to ensure this team stays focused on winning games, rather than chasing shadows in the trade market. The rumor mill is spinning regarding Shedeur Sanders, and it raises a fascinating question about our path forward at quarterback. From an optimistic perspective, fielding trade calls allows our front office to gauge the market value of a high-upside talent before we fully commit to a starter under head coach Todd Monken. If we decide he is not the long-term answer, securing assets now while his potential remains a mystery to other teams could be a savvy chess move. And here's why that's a big deal. If we hold on to him and his value creators, we lose that leverage entirely. On the flip side, trading him for a meager 6th-round pick feels like a desperate overreaction when we are still in the middle of a legitimate summer competition between him and Deshaun Watson. According to Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, it makes little sense to move him before he has even had a fair chance to battle for the top spot. Other teams are clearly checking in, likely hoping we undervalue him, but Dan Labbe suggests the return would be minimal at best. My honest take here is that these reports feel largely speculative and overblown. It is standard operating procedure for front offices to chat about player availability during routine business calls. But that does not mean a trade is imminent or even actively planned. If we part ways with a quarterback who is currently competing for the job based on a low-round draft pick, we are essentially throwing away depth without a clear replacement in sight. The notion that we are ready to move on before the preseason opener against the Chicago Bears on August 15th seems premature. And frankly, I expect our leadership to remain patient rather than making a frantic, short-sighted decision that hurts our roster flexibility during such a critical campaign. These trade rumors surrounding Shedeur Sanders force us to consider the long-term identity of our franchise under Todd Monken. While national whispers suggest the team might move on, Mary Kay Cabot of the Cleveland Plain Dealer notes that it makes little sense to trade a developing player while simultaneously evaluating him as a potential starter for the upcoming season. If the team genuinely considers trading him for a mere 6th-round pick, as Dan Labbe of the Cleveland Plain Dealer speculated, it implies a lack of confidence in his ability to push Deshaun Watson for the role. And honestly, we should feel optimistic but guarded heading into this summer because this training camp battle is about securing stability for the future. Having two capable signal callers fighting for snaps during the preseason opener against the Chicago Bears is a luxury many teams lack, providing us with insurance if injury strikes our veteran starter. We need to stay patient as the front office navigates these internal evaluations, especially after learning that Brendan Sorsby will not be available in the supplemental draft. The direction of this team depends on whether the coaching staff identifies a clear leader who can command the offense with precision and poise. We are witnessing a pivotal moment where the Browns must decide if they are building around a proven veteran or gambling on a promising talent. I want to know where you stand on this situation as we approach our first game. Would you prefer to see the Browns keep Shedeur Sanders as a developmental project for the future, or trade him now to acquire that extra 6th-round draft pick? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Dawg Pound. I'll see you in the next one.